What's up to Lion Talk Live? So we love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Duke Crew? This is Ball Hawk Ifeatu Melifonwu of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for joining us here today. Lions Talk Live. Hey, it is the morning show edition. It's the day after Frank Ragnow. As we all now know, stepped down and retired. We got some speculation, some people I reached out to into the Detroit Lions media that gave some deeper information as to why Ragnow finally decided to retire. It seems like an odd time with, hey, OTAs just beginning. We all know last week, Frank Ragnow, yes, he wanted a contract extension, wanted a little bit more money. And yes, I am filming from a bedroom at the Airbnb that we're staying at. Not a great light situation. We got the sun coming up here in Florida, and hey, making the best out of what I can here today. Should be better tomorrow, and then Thursday we'll be back in studio. But I thought there were some real interesting thoughts that I got from a lot of the people in Detroit-based media talking about Frank Ragnow. It seems it would appear that Ragnow really did want to stay with the Lions, wanted a contract extension or fully guaranteed contract to play this year. It sounds like Brad Holmes and the Detroit Lions did not want to go that way, and because of that, Ragnow just kind of reviewed his options and decided to say, hey, no mas, I'm done. I've given all I can for this franchise. The franchise didn't want to give him the extension, and that's why he decided to retire or fully guaranteed contract. So, I can understand his position. I can understand the team's position. It does sound like the team had some level of concern about his health and ability to play, which is why they did not want to give that fully guaranteed contract or a 1 or 2 year extension. So whatever it is, Frank Ragnow is going to move on with his life. Good for him. Wish him nothing but the best. But we are going to analyze in the main topic of today what the Detroit Lions are more than likely going to do and how they address this situation going forward. Before we get into that, before we get into the 5 headlines now and everything in between, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so, making that march for 13,800 subs, and we're like 21 subs away, something like that. Also, if you have a half second of time, it doesn't cost a dime. Reach on down, hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button, hit all the buttons. As you know, we try to get every episode of the show between 200, 300, 400 or more thumbs up or likes. Last but most certainly, never least, if you're looking to buy or sell property anywhere in the great state of Michigan, let alone the continental United States, go ahead and give me a call or shoot me a text. You see the number on the screen, 269-998-2384. Have a conversation, see what I can do to save you some time, save you some hassle, save you some money, make the experience a whole lot easier on you while, hey, trying to answer any questions for you. Again, 269-998-2384. All right, with all that done, set out of the way, let's get into the first topic of the day. And as you guys know, that is 5 headlines now. All right, 5 glorious headlines coming your way, and we're going to start off the top here with a Newsweek. Don't normally get them on the show, but Lions urge consider major late off-season move. And the fact that Newsweek is on this, I thought that was pretty neat. But just about everybody out there thinks the Lions need another pass rusher to really complete this team. There's a lot of thoughts that the Lions are the most complete team in the NFL, have the most depth, yada, yada, yada. We get it. And yes, this story is urging the Detroit Lions to go after Von Miller. Now, Von Miller, he's getting up there in age. He's 36, 37. Could he still get after the quarterback? I think so, but more in a rotational piece. Do I think the Lions will go after him? I personally don't. I do think there's probably a much more high likelihood that the team could go after, try to bring back Zadarius Smith. We covered that yesterday. I think those chances have gone up for the Detroit Lions re-signing Z Smith. We'll see if that shakes out. All right, Lions Hank Fraley makes clear statement on likely Frank Ragnow replacement. Athlon Sports Nikki Maya with this one. There's going to be a lot of people mentioned to replace Frank Ragnow. Who's going to win that spot? I don't know. But what the good part is we do have some options. Frank Haley makes a lot of sense when he talks about Graham Glasgow. He also talks about Ratledge stepping up. I think both of them are strong considerations. Also mentions Yodi. If you guys know he's come in and played guard for us over the years from time to time and done a fairly good job. The Lions do have probably 2 to 3 strong options to come in there, but I do think the Lions had some idea this could be a possibility for Frank Ragnow to retire going into the draft, which is why we took Miles Frazier and, of course, Ratledge. So will one of them swing over and do it? We've already seen in the rookie OTAs the fact that Ratledge got so many reps there. Lions were trying to get ready for this inevitable moment, whether it was going to happen this year, next year, or the following year. Frank Ragnow was going to retire at some point. The Lions didn't want to be caught offhand or shorthanded, I guess you could say. And then, yes, they've been preparing for it. Who knows? I mean, we'll never know what could have been if Ragnow would have stayed this year, because that's obviously not going to happen. But the Lions do have, with last year's draft and the following year's draft, they've got some pretty good depth on that offensive line. Now it's an opportunity for some of that depth and potential to step up and earn some credit from themselves. All right, Detroit Lions offensive line may be a problem in 2025. Athlon Sports, John Vicario, this one. So if you think about last year's line, you got 2 real good tackles. You got one of the best centers in the game, and then you had you got 2 good guards. Even though Glasgow probably could have played a little bit better. With all that being said, you look at this year's line. Christian Mahogany, we all assume he's going to play at a high level and probably be the left guard, but we don't know that. He's got to earn it, and he hasn't done it for a full season. There are some real question marks on the kid. You look at now the center spot. Who's going to step in? I know a bunch of you messaged me yesterday. You saw a bunch of stuff on other content, creators, sites, etc., the national media on it, that perhaps Graham Glasgow, he would be the starting center, and that might not be a bad option. Remember, he is a pretty good center, and a spot he does play fairly well. Could he be the guy for a year or two? Yeah, maybe. I could see that shaking out, but I think between both of those question marks and now what you're going to do also at the right guard spot, those are 3 prime positions with major question marks, according to John Vicario, for the Detroit Lions. This could go one way or the other for the team, and I think we can both see scenarios where it happens. Me, myself, and I think Christian Mahogany is going to be just fine. I think Nate Ratledge at right guard is going to make a lot of sense. Tate Ratledge. And then Graham Glasgow, if he does take over the center spot, that's not a bad lineup. Now, if Graham Glasgow can get back to playing at a higher level, unlike he did last year, where last year I thought he really struggled at left guard. I think a bunch of you guys commented on that too. He plays better at right than he does left. We'll see what shakes out, but the Lions offensive line does now have officially some real question marks going into training camp. Those question marks are going to have to get answered. Otherwise, this Lions offense could really look a little different going into next year. All will be revealed in time. I do trust in the coaching staff to get it fixed out, though. All right, 3 Detroit Lions hidden gems on 2025 roster. You need to know. Clutch points, Ben Strauss with this one. We always talk about a lot of the depth the Lions have and a lot of the different players that the Lions have that they've been grooming, getting ready to step into eventually roles with the team that we suspect that, someone like Khalif Raymond, criminally undervalued. Could his role in this year's team go up and away? I think so. This story points out that. You look at Enos Rakestraw. He's also somebody that probably we're going to get to know a lot better this particular season. So you know what? You need to pay attention to him, because I think whether he's going to play cornerback or get moved in some sort of hybrid position like Ife Melifano to the safety spot, I think both can be true and both could be incorrect. But I think he is going to make a big impact on this year's team. And then probably the other one, we've already talked about a little bit, would be Christian Mahogany. Mahogany, don't forget, last year he played in 3 games, and in 2 of those 3 games, he had an elite grade from Pro Football Focus. And not that Pro Football Focus is the one-all, be-all, or whatever, but let's also be fair to him in that he knows what to do, and it would appear this kid's got some real promise. If he holds up to what we saw in limited roles last year, this Detroit Lions offensive line is going to have a lot less questions about it. So pay attention to those three. I'm sure that we could go on with about 15 other guys to pay attention to for this upcoming season. But these three are probably some of the more key spots for us going into the next year. All right, last of the 5 headlines now. Lions have finally have an answer to their one last need, the heavy. And hey, I know I know Pierce, the comment section does not want to hear about this, but hey, Marcus Davenport is listed as one of the best opportunities for the Lions to get a strong return on investment at that opposite side defensive end, other than Aiden Hutchinson. Davenport, we all get it. Kid can't stay healthy. This story talks a lot about what coaches are seeing out of him this offseason, OTA so far. And you know what? It looks like he's putting in a ton of work to get a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, and to try to work on his endurance. If this kid really does pan out, where he's playing on the contract, game to game, we all get it. If he can't play, if he can't practice, he doesn't get paid, basically. So he's got really something to play for here, because let's be fair to all parties. If it doesn't work with Davenport this year, he's probably done in the NFL. We'll have to wait and see what shakes out. But I think, hey, Davenport's going to come in guns blazing. As long as he can stay healthy, you might have one of the best values at defensive end in the entire NFL. If he can live up to that promise that we see flashes of, Lions defensive line might just be pretty dang good. Well, let me know your thoughts on it. I know what Pierce's thoughts in the comment section already are. All right, with all that done said out of the way, let's go ahead and get over to the main topic of the day. Main topic of the day. What do you do if you're the Detroit Lions? How do you move forward from this? Frank Ragnow, like we were saying earlier, I don't think anybody's going to question that while he might not have had his greatest season last year, he had a pretty good one. He was one of the better run blocking centers in the NFL last year, and still a pretty good pass defender as well, a blocker, I should say. For Ragnow, the only problem I really have with it as just a coach myself is that he waited until after the draft, after free agency, to retire. I think it kind of put the Lions in a bad spot. But, me being positive, Pete, there are some good sides of this. Lions are going to free up some real salary cap constraints going forward. And could they use some of that money to either acquire another center? Could they go after? I know a bunch of you guys messaged me about Trey Hendrickson now, because you could just basically swap the salaries. Maybe that's a possibility. Maybe the Lions do that. Or now do they have just more money to go ahead and pay a Jameson Williams, Aiden Hutchinson, or whoever else you want to list? Those contracts are going to come up. And now without Frank Ragnow there, you've got a little bit more money there, because you're more than likely, in my opinion, going to go with a younger, cheaper rookie contract to take that spot. And it doesn't mean they'll have to be a rookie, just somebody on a rookie deal still. Again, the downside I have with Frank Ragnow stepping down when he did, and you got to make your decision whenever you feel it's the right time to make that decision. But you went through free agency, you went through the draft, and you allowed the team to go forward with that. Maybe he did have some conversations with the team saying, hey, I'm not sure about this year or whatever, and maybe that's why they went for Miles Frazier on top of Ratledge. Well, we'll never know. But what we do know, I talked about this a little bit during the opening, is that, hey, Frank Ragnow it does sound from all parties I talked to, he was good to return this year a week ago. The team and Brad Holmes said, nah, we're not going to give you more guaranteed money. We're not going to give you an extension. That's where I think he went home, talked to the wife and the kids and everything, and made a choice. The body's beat up. I don't really have a lot left, but it does also make you wonder, did Frank start to wonder if he could play a full season this upcoming year? And maybe that's why he wanted the fully invested, guaranteed money for this upcoming season, knowing that he might only be able to play 6-8 games before the body broke down and he would have to sit out the rest. That's a point somebody brought up, and I don't know. It's speculation. But either way, Frank Ragnow's had one heck of a career. Great Lion all the way through and through. Probably sounds like he did have some questions about his health going into the season. And at the end of the day, maybe he just said, hey, if I can't physically play my best, my highest level, whatever it is going to be, I don't know if I want to be on the field, because I don't want to tarnish my legacy. And he has had a pretty good legacy in his 7 years with the Detroit Lions. I don't think he'll make the Hall of Fame. That's my opinion. I've been wrong before. I just think if he would have needed a few more seasons, maybe the Lions win the Super Bowl, and then maybe he could have been like a 3rd or 4th ballot Hall of Fame or something like that. All right, Duke Crew, we've got about 15 minutes until Anthony from Roar Lions UK gets on here. Be interesting to see what you guys and he has to say about the Ragnow situation. Who do you feel will be the Detroit Lions starting offensive line in the Week 1 game against the Green Bay Packers? You know, Penei Sewell, we all get it, generational. Taylor Decker, still playing pretty good. Christian Mahogany, high expectations. And then you got some real question marks. And those question marks will need to be answered for that Lions offensive line to both pass protect, run block, and for this offense to still be one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in the entire NFL. Again, sorry about the lighting and everything. Hopefully it's not a big distraction for you guys. Not much I can do about it at this point. So, hey, it is what it is. All right, let me scroll to the top of the screen, try to get through the comments sections. And here we go. Michael D, greatest citations coach and Duke crew, exclamation points, one pride, woo, and back at you. JDC, morning all, and at you. Uncle Buzz, hey, good to see you, man. Feels like it must be football season's getting closer and closer, seeing you a little bit more. 11-6. Hey, I think most Lions fans would take that. You get 11-6, I would assume you still win the NFC North. Been wrong before, but I do think you're in a pretty good position to make the playoffs. Maybe not be the number 1 seed in the NFC, but definitely one of the higher seeds. And you know what? Just get in the dance, and we'll see how far you can dance in the playoffs. Bo, good morning, Duke Crew. Does anyone really know what time it is? Woo! Yes, it is. It is 7:16 a.m. here in Florida right now. All right, JDC, tick, tick, tick. It's woo time. There you go, JDC. Ooh, well said with the woo time. Quentin, greetings, salutations. What's good, Duke Crew? A whole lot of new faces just going to be on that O-line. Yeah, probably. I would say there's some potential. You could have 3 new starters on your offensive line. Think about that going into Week 1 of the NFL. My personal opinion is you'll probably have 2 new ones if you want to count Christian Mahogany and then somebody else. And then, you know, I think there is a probably good chance that Graham Glasgow does get slid over to center. Could he still be the right guard? Sure. But I think if it was me, I'd probably play him more at center and then let Ratledge have a year to kind of be the right guard, develop before moving him over to center on a more permanent basis, if that is where they decide to go. Gary, morning, everyone. And as always to you, Five Fingers Freddy. Frank gave this team everything for years. I would agree with that. Unfortunately, he felt he had nothing more to offer. Yeah, and that could be simply what it is. Like I said, it is speculative, but it does sound like he wanted more guaranteed money. That would suggest to me, going into the season, he had some real concerns about his physical well-being or health. And because of that, maybe he wanted to make sure that he would be fully vested and paid for this upcoming season. Brad Holmes and the team, it does appear, said no to that. And unfortunately, because of that, he was like, yeah, I don't know if I can do this where I'm just sitting out part of the year injured or beat up. Did talk about it in his Twitter press that, Twitter release that he just, the injuries had taken a toll on him and he just didn't think he'd really go forward. It's unfortunate, but he battled for many years, as we all know, through a number of different injuries. Gary, 25 or 6-4. Okay, I'll go with that. Stephanie, good morning, boys. Exclamation point. Listen, I feel for him. I think we all do. He's played a whole lot of long-term impactful injuries, through a whole lot of long-term impactful injuries. Looking at things now, it does feel as if Brad knew this could happen. Yeah, I would say with Manu's, drafting last year and development, Kobe Scoresdale, by the way, has also reportedly been giving reps at center. So could he, save his career, I guess you could say, in the NFL by becoming a center? Man, I hadn't even thought about that till I got some of the words on that yesterday that the Lions were using him at center in OTAs. But whatever it is, it does feel like Brad Holmes, the team, had prepared for it in past drafts. Then obviously this year's draft, somebody steps down, especially somebody as talented as Frank Ragnow, it's always going to be impactful. But it does also mean there's an opportunity for somebody else now to step up. That's some real coach speak there, but it is true. Just because somebody steps away doesn't mean it's all doom and gloom. You never know. Somebody else has an opportunity now. Rise to the occasion. I like the way you're thinking on that. Hookadoo, good morning, Duke Crew. Well, Bo, Chicago time is about an hour behind us. Hey, this is true. Michael, Tate Ratledge time at center. Oh, yeah, it could be Tate the Great Ratledge. I think he might just have an opportunity to win this thing over. If he does go there, who do you guys think, if Ratledge goes to center, Christian Mahogany plays the left guard, who do you think is the starting right guard for the team? Let me know your thoughts. Let's see, Bo. Kerry, thank you, Kerry. Now we can lay it on the line. Yeah, 100%, 100% indeed. Voltron Force, good morning, Duke Crew. Gigi just seen his career saved. That could be also true in the Lions uniform. I won't be surprised if he's our starting center now. No, I think there's a high likelihood at this point he could be one of the starting centers, or it could be the starting center, I should say. Bo, Frank asked himself, should I try to do some more? He asked, and the only thing I'd say is just he retired, so he must have felt pretty confident he couldn't go out there and still play at a Ragnow type level. Johnny L, good morning all, and same to you. JDC, Kerry, great song, great band. What more can I say? I see what you did there with the I, by the way. Larry, what do you got? He was still playing at a high level. That's the sad part. He must have really felt his body was worn down. When you think about, he had like 4 different surgeries on that right foot and toe, big toe, and just the doctor. It got to the point the doctor said there's nothing more we can do for the turf toe injury. It is what it is. It's not going to get any better other than what we've done for it. And now last year he had the torn pec muscle. He played basically with one arm last year and played at a high level with it. I get it, man. Just, injury after injury after injury, and it obviously wore him down. Gary, Stephanie, one of the most impactful offensive linemen Detroit Lions have ever had. What a dominating force. Yeah, great move. He is one of the, was one of the 2 remaining players from the Quinn Trisha era. And, hey, he played through a lot of bad. I'm just thankful for the last few seasons. He got to play through some good seasons as well. And I'm sure it's tough knowing the Lions probably have a chance to get to the Super Bowl this year for him to step away. So that also needs to tell us all whatever's going on with them. It had to be a pretty severe one with Frank Ragnow as far as injuries, because he was willing to sit down and sit out of a potential Super Bowl year for the Lions in, just to get away from whatever was ailing him. So I just hope he's okay. Him and his family going forward, okay. Black Jared Jones, Duke Crew, top of the morning, one pride, and back at you. Any more? Good morning, Coach Dan and Duke Crew. What a team. What a podcast. What a time to be a Lions fan. Woo! And good as always to see you, Henry. Bo, he was waiting for the break of day. There you are. Johnny L, this is going to hurt for sure. Yeah, I don't think there's any way you could say the Lions are going to get better by Ragnow retiring, but trying to be the positive spinner here, it is an opportunity for another player to step up and for you to alleviate some salary cap constraints going forward. So both of those, I guess, are the bright side. Kerry, JDC, I've been waiting such a long time. Well, hopefully you're ready for the show to get going, because we are going. Silver Server, good morning, Coach and everyone, and same to you. Steve Rogers, I think Rat is our new center. Yeah, I think it's either going to be him or Glasgow, would be my opinion. Maybe they go out and try to acquire somebody. I just don't see that happening. I think Fraley's going to just say, hey, one of you guys are going to step in. And who knows, like I said, yesterday, Kobe Storsdale started taking some reps at center too. Maybe he can save his career too by becoming a center. I don't know. Henry Moore, I think, which is I seldom do, this was all planned for by Brad Holmes. Yeah, I feel like Frank has been contemplating retirement since last year. Yeah, if you remember about 2 years ago, it really hit the media that he was considering retirement. Then Ragnow eventually came out and said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to play for a couple more years, which he did. But now the injuries apparently just took too large of a toll on him, and he was like, no mas. Hookadoo, just listening to Trumpet the other day, Bo, fight the good fight. All right, I'll go with that. Fight a good fight. It's E. Good morning, Coach Dan and Duke Crew. And as always to you, Silver Server. Coach, I am pretty sure Lions knew this before the draft. I would think so too, with Miles Frazier, with Ratledge, etc., coming on in, and they were looking at some other guys too in case they fell to him or they were available to him. So Lions did probably have some level of idea this could be a possibility, like you're saying, Silver Server. Gary, seems to be the case. I would agree. Johnny L, welcome to the Hotel California. I do love that song, especially the Spanish version from The Big Lebowski. Gary, every minute, every day, 100%. JDC to Frank, quote the Tank Ragnow. Thank you for your 7 years of service! Exclamation point. You'll receive your service pin in the mail. Next man up. Good luck. Go Lions. 100%. All you can do if you're the Lions now. Next person, step on up and get us there. Anymore, it took me 3 years to decide to retire from the Army, but it took one injury for me to say it was enough. I think Frank went through the same process. Yeah, probably true. We all get it. He had a ton of injuries and just kept powering forward. Pierce, somehow Davenport caused this. Might be accurate. Jim, the Lions overcame and just will overcome and just be fine. They powered through 13 defensive players down. Replace the center will be a small task. Calm down and have faith. I have lots of faith, Jim, and I think you're spot on with that. Pierce, but in all seriousness, I would move Glasgow to center for this year. Ratledge can learn, then take over in year 2. Yeah, I think that could be a strong possibility there. Vincent E. Pierce, yep, laughing. Kerry laughing. Bo. So who starts, GG or Rat? I'm thinking Glasgow myself. But who knows? Maybe Rat just comes in and owns it in training camp. They're like, hey, we have no choice. We've got to put him there. Server. Remember, I was so animated about the Lions drafting Zach Frazier, center/guard, who went to Pittsburgh Steelers. I do remember something about that. I do. Pierce, Bo Booth, I would start Tate at right guard this year and then have Glasgow man in the middle. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of people are thinking that will be the way to go. I'm going to do. It's your only way, Gary. There you go. Pierce, server. I wanted Barton and Duke, who went to the Bucks. All right. Gary, seems we're running out of time. There's always more time, man. There's always another player. Server. Now Glasgow gets right back into play center. Ratledge was put there to learn the position, but I cannot see him starting at center. He will be the starting right guard. I think that's where a lot of us, unless something really unforeseen happens in training camp, that's probably where a lot of us see things going. Pierce, server, completely agreed. Pierce, now I see Glasgow playing his contract here. Playing out his contract? Yeah, agreed. And hey, 14 minutes comes off the books for this and next season. Correct. Now, what does the team do with that money? A lot of you guys messaged me. I know my brother Tim messaged me too and said, hey, now's the time to go get Hendrickson from the Cincinnati Bengals. Kind of, just move most of Frank's contract over there. Phil, good morning. And always to you, Phil. Marcus, good morning. Dana Duku, sorry to see Ragnow go, but the Lions were well aware and prepared for this situation. As I stated in late April, this was a succession plan they drafted for the Lions. Yeah, they probably were planning ahead and getting ready for this. Gary, it's not just a money thing. No, I think he was just legitimately beat up and worn down. K-Pop, we will be fine. This team has been planning for this. I agree. It seems like most of us agree. Server, Pierce, Frazier was rated one of the best rookie offensive linemen 2 years ago and the best center. He's a wrestler and tough son of a gun. I would go with that 100%. Hookadoo. You know why he wrote that song, Kerry? Just his aunt was dying of cancer. I did not know that. JC, greetings, salutations, coach and Duke crew. Back at you. Marcus, Glasgow will start at center to begin the season and will eventually be replaced by Tate or Frazier. Yeah, probably. I'm thinking Ratledge more than Frazier. I think Frazier will probably be a guard/tackle, while Ratledge will probably be a center/guard. Gary, very good lyrics. Pat, I think losing Frank is bigger than losing Ben. All right, I'm down with that. And yeah, you might be spot on with that. Gary, without a doubt. T. Bourne, what do you got? Next man up. I concur. Manu is going to have to show versatility. He might be used at guard. He has the athletic qualities to play left tackle and left guard. He was a basketball player. Yes, he was, and a pretty good power forward. Hookadoo, yeah, yes, they are, Gary. Let's see, Phil. I'm happy for right now. He can heal his body in a year, and he could come back on a 1-year deal with another team. Maybe he does. Although I think the Lions would still own the rights to him at that point. Chuck, good morning, Coach Dan and the Duke crew. Happy retirement to the great Frank Ragnow, 100%, and with an exclamation point. JDC, Dan, the plan Campbell has his cronies know exactly what they're doing. Yes, they probably do know what they're doing. Jennifer, morning, Coach, and morning, Jennifer. The Trim Reaper, good morning, Coach and Duke crew. Woo! And back at you. Al, with what you know right now and with the players available currently on the team, where do you think the O-line now ranks? Question mark. I think the team has a top 5 prior to this. I would say, just because we don't know who's starting where or who's going to do what, I would say I would drop him to probably number 15, kind of middle of the pack-ish, because you don't know what's going on. All right, Robert, greetings and salutations all, and as always to you. David, it's amazing what the Lions drafted last year and this year for the offensive line, seeing this coming. So many teams would not have been prepared at all. No, I think you're spot on. They were very forward-thinking with it. All right, it's about that time for me to bring over, you guys already know him, our special guest of the day. He is the host of From the Other Side of the Pond. He's the guy with, all the cool hair. He does look like Jason Statham, as Chris Steele likes to point out. So let's go ahead and bring over Anthony from Roar Lions UK. Anthony, well, I guess I gotta say good afternoon to you. So, how are you doing today, my friend?
Hey, good morning to all you over there. Good morning to you and the Jew crew. Hope you are all well on this slightly sad Tuesday, but we move on.
We move on, we move forward. So let's ask you the burning question. If you look at the Detroit Lions right now, who do you think who do you think starts where on the offensive line?
I don't know at this moment in time. There's a lot of questions on that interior now. Not just the center spot, it's both guard spots as well. I mean, for me, right now, with the players you have on the roster, it's Glasgow. Center is just much more than being a good pass protector and being a run blocker. You've got to have the level of IQ. You've got to be able to call out protections, see late blitzes, all this sort of stuff. You're the guy who's snapping it to God. It's a very cerebral position, as well as as well as your physical attributes. And I think if you're going to be betting in two green guards as well this year, you need someone who can assume a position of responsibility there, who has been there, done that, and can deal with it. And, eventually, when time has passed, you pass it over to one of his successors, one of the rookies. That's how I feel at this moment in time. I don't really want a novice in there, especially a novice who's never played the position before. There's a lot that comes with it, and we forget we got to go out and win a Super Bowl this year. So we need to give ourselves the best possible chance of doing that. For me, I think right now it's going to be having the vet in there doing the work while someone learns and adapts to the NFL and gets snaps in the NFL.
Somebody asked me in the comment section, so I'll throw it at you. Going in before Ragnow retirement, I think most would said the Lions would have had one of the better offensive lines overall in the NFL. But now with his retirement, where would you rank the potential for this team if you had to, as of right here today?
I mean, the potential is, not much of a drop off. Potentially, if everyone reaches their ceiling, we've seen great plays from Christian Mahogany. If Christian Mahogany plays like he played last year, then he's playing at a higher level than Graham Glasgow did at left guard. So you've already got your two tackles in. You've got your left guard playing there. If Glasgow's healthy and we put him back, get him in at center, whatever, you've still got the potential to be good. The drop-off is not as bad as some people might fear. That, however, is if you hit your ceiling. Right now, there's just so many unanswered questions. Obviously, Decker's had his own flirt with inconsistent form the last couple of years as well, and now you're bedding in an entire group of new guys in the middle. There's just so many unknown variables at the moment in time. I'm not going to doom monger and say it's over, it's all down there, but at the same point, you've got to keep your expectations simple, because the last thing I want now is all these rookies getting the weight of the world put on them. I see people go, oh yeah, Frazier's going to start day one. He's going to be amazing. He's a round 6 pick. You do not expect him to go in there. You do not put that pressure on him. So it's just very tough at this moment in time, because we've not invested in the offensive line properly. We've invested in a load of development guys, and we've invested a lot this year, but there's no one in the system who's ready and raring to go, which is the tough part here. So yeah, there's a lot of questions to be asked about how this has been built, especially when it comes to the offensive line, because we've been lucky that they've all been so healthy for these last few years.
So at the end of the day, I mentioned this earlier before you got on, it just felt like the timing was maybe not the most ideal for things. I mean, the good thing is it was before training camp, but you went through the draft, you went through free agency. What do you think compelled Frank Ragnow to retire yesterday?
Because it's OTA, this is the time of year where you, for the first time, start training up to NFL level. Like, especially with athletes, when you're at the end of a season, your body is beaten up. You've got to come down. You've got to have that period where you come down. Then you have your period in the off season where you might do some conditioning and that, but you're at your lesser weight. You're at your civvy weight, as you were. OTAs is the first time where you really start ramping up your training, where you start getting into shape for the NFL. Now, you're not going to know if your body's capable of doing that until you start the climb back up again and you start encouraging these hurdles. So it's not like you can tell whether your body's going to be good enough when the season's over, because you can't. Your body's coming down, you're recovering from all these injuries, especially with him. He's had injuries all over the show. So for me, I hold, like, he's earned this right to see whether he's ready or not. And he's gotten to OTAs and obviously decided he's not, but he's been very honest through the process for years now about his health. he said and admitted that he's not been in a great place. The organization has known about this for years. If we're going to start laying blame here, if there's going to be trouble, it's the organization's fault. We've been saying since the 2023 draft, not the 2024 draft, since the 2023 draft, ever since Evan Brown was let go, we have made no attempt to fill in this gap at centre. We have made no attempt to put depth in at centre because it's always just been, we've got Glasgow. He's fine. We've brought no rookies in, no experienced no collegiate trained centres in here to be a long-term successor here and to put him now. We're having to put a second-round pick in who's never taken a snap at centre in his life. That's organisational thing, not on Frank for leaving it too late. You look at the Eagles, lost Jason Kelce last year, right? Went to a Super Bowl, won it. Why? What did they do? In 2021, you draft Landon Dickerson with pick 37, collegiate center, put him in at guard to give him experience in the league. In 2022, you pick Cam Jurgens with pick 51, collegiate center, put him in at guard, put him in the league. Jason Kelce retires, you've got 2 homegrown replacements right then and there to slot right in, and you've no issue whatsoever. What a good organization does and had them ready to replace him. We've now known for years that Ragnow struggled with his injuries, and we've had the opportunity to get a replacement in and ready for this situation, and we've not. Now we're scrambling, and we're just going to put here, there, and everybody in. So I don't want to hear any blame about Frank and the timing of this here. If they're not ready for this, it's the organization's problem, not his. He's earned the right to do this. He's played through some extremely excruciating injuries. Yes. If he's not ready, then that's his right to at this point.
So if you're a Hank Fraley at this point, what are you doing? What are you trying to scratch your head and figure out how to move these parts around? Do you think there's a wild card potential? Maybe Yodi steps in at center. I know some people have mentioned him. Do you think maybe Giovanni Manu gets moved to guard, or where do you think the Lions would be if you were in charge right here and now? Who would you put where for week 1 against the Green Bay Packers?
I'd be going straight to the trade market for one. I'd be going straight to the free agency market for one. I'm not going to sit here and watch this situation approach where I might I love our rookies. I'm not knocking our rookies here whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I think Ratledge is going to be great. I'd rather Ratledge play at right guard, which is where he's done in college. I want him and Penne next to one another. Those two will end lives together on that side of the line. But we're in a Super Bowl window right now. We want to win a Super Bowl this year. And if we're going to meander towards this season going, we're going to play Graham Glasgow, who seems to be on the downward trajectory of his career at the minute, and 2 rookies, because even if it's Mahogany, essentially still a rookie, played 2 games for us. If we're going to meander towards the season and just go, this is fine, that for me is not cool. You've got guys on the free, you've got guys like Brandon Scherf, Shaq Mason. You've got David Andrews, if you want a center, who's played at the Patriots for years. This organization now it's earned the right to start pulling its muscle to bring in people from outside. When a hole appears, you should be able to bring in people from the outside to help, to bring veteran presences into this room, because we still want to win a Super Bowl. And whoever starts on this line, first game of the season, I would expect to be playing up to a caliber where they can go out and win a Super Bowl for us. So obviously, if I'm Hank, I'm going to prepare them, cross-train, whatever, get them in the best situation possible. But I'm also saying and being upright honest and saying, look, we need to get some veterans in this room. We need to get some more competition in this room, push these rookies so that we're not just putting everything onto their plate. Because, again, I don't want... People will turn on these rookies if they don't do so well. We saw it with Terrion last year. People turned on him after a month because he wasn't as good as they thought they were going to be. You know, we've got to operate like a Super Bowl-minded team, not next year is be fine. Because I've already seen some podcasts going, okay, season's over next year. Hutch got injured last year. We've got next year. Ragnow's retired this year. We've got next year. It's the problem with the long Super Bowl window theory. You become lazy. You just chuck away seasons like they don't matter because there's next year. I want to see proactive moves from this organization to shore up that offensive line and not just meander towards the season with a bunch of rookies and vets who are not up to par potentially doing that. That's what I want to see here. But meanwhile, I know Frank will do a great job developing the guys in that, but I need to lower the expectation and the pressure on these guys. You can't just chuck them in there at once, expect them to succeed. We've got a tough schedule, a very tough start to this season. 2 NFC North games, road games at the Chiefs, at the Bengals, at the Ravens, Madubuike, Chris Jones. They're not going to care about all this. That's tough. So you know, the organization's got to start acting like a Super Bowl team now and stop just going, we can do it in-house, it's fine. That's where I'm at.
If the Lions were to look outside of their own organization, say not a draft pick or a guy currently in-house, is there anybody out there on another team you think they could acquire right now to potentially step on in?
To be honest, it only happened yesterday. I've not really had a chance to look around and see what's what at the moment. So I've got to take time. Like I say, you've got good guard options on the free agency market at the minute. At least it fills one spot and gives you the ability to move guys around and do things different. Like Shaq Mason, he's left guard, been for years. If you want to do that and then have Ratledge in at right guard and, you know, Glasgow at centre, you can. The more options you give yourself, the more opportunity you're going to have to find a group of 5 that work without just putting it all onto the rookies. So, yeah, I will have a look in due course, but I am certainly not just settling for what we have right now. I would look to bring in from outside the organization at this point. There's plenty of time towards the season. We're early into OTAs, plenty of time to bed players into this system. We've got 4 preseason games, a lot of snaps available to come in, gain your cohesion with your teammates and do things right. We have enough time now. We do have the opportunity to mitigate the repercussions of this.
Okay. All right, Anthony, I got to cut this episode a little short today just because I am on vacation on the road. So why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out, tell everybody where to find you, help support you and your great content. And as always, man, thank you for hopping on.
Hey, no, appreciate you having me as always. Appreciate you. Appreciate the new crew. Yeah, you can find me at Roar of the Lions UK. We're a group of Detroit Lions fans from across the pond. So if you want to come and chat with us, please do so. We're live Mondays. I talk college ball on Wednesdays. I'm starting back up next week. So drop in tomorrow if you want. And then, yeah, we're live during games. Just come by, say hi, and we'll chat all Lions. But yeah, thanks as always. Enjoy your holiday. You know, get those rays, get a nice tan on there, have a few drinks, chill out, and I'll see you for the next one.
All right, man. We'll see you next week. So thanks again, Anthony.
See you. Take care.
See you now. All right, Duke Crew. I got to end this one a little bit early just because, like I said, I'm on vacation and trying to get a couple things done here. So before we take off. So, all right, tomorrow will be the last day on vacation that we've filmed remotely. We're on destinations unknown. After that, I will be back in the studio. So if you guys would be real kind before you check on out, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Hit all the buttons. If there is breaking news later today, I'll try to get it over to you as best as possible. Otherwise, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Do something kind for somebody you don't know. And we'll see you all on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, all.
You're still here? What are you doing here? It's over. The show's over. Go home.